Toi te ara puoru, sounds. E ngā mana e ngā reo rauranga tirama tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to He Reo Tawhito, presented by Toi Te Arapuoru, Sounds Centre for New Zealand Music, ko Crystal Edwards ahau. It's been a great honour to speak with some of our leading experts in ngā mōteatea. Today we're joined by Taina Moitara. Tēnā koutou katoa and welcome to He Reo Tawhito. No mata te māringa nui kua tai mai tētahi manu, no rongo whakaata e wāma, nā reira, ka reare tātou ki ōna kōrero. Tēnā koe, Taina, e pēhana koe I tēnei rā?
Tino pai, tino pai. Tāhua tēnei wāhi.
Ai, tino ātāhua, ne. Well, talking about ātāhua, that's what we're going to be talking about, an ātāhua kaupapa. And I hear that you come from a very ātāhua district, te Rāwhiti, e hoa. So could you take us back to when you were a handsome young man, cruising down the coast, listening to your kuia koroua aunties, uncles singing mōteatea, and how did that impact you then?
I grew up in a time in the 80s where they were doing a lot of restoration work on our wharenui, Te Poho Rukupo in Manituke. At that time, that was quite a big thing. So our village, our community life, there were native speakers, our aunties, our nannies, but my parents and the people that were above me in the generation, many of them didn't have the language. So coming back to the marae to work on restoring the wharenui, which was a 10-year process, in that time, I was growing up around the reke of our aunties. I'm a bit of a performer. They used to like me performing, my parents not so much. And in that, they would model or they would waiata and they would sing lots of little ditties. And so you hear not just the songs that they're singing or the little pau, but how they sing and how they would take time and how they would articulate and how they would have that glint in their eye. And they would teach in that way by modelling. The other part of my life predominantly was growing up in competition and competitive kapahaka, particularly with the Wahirere Māori Club. So at that time, Uncle Bub and Auntie Nen were here with the kaiako. I was part of the primary. I was very young. I had all my older cousins and siblings there. And we used to sit up on the hill outside the pa. And that hill is kind of a little bit like a container. So the sounds as the pakeke were singing and were doing their waiata, it sort of resonated, right? And it moves through your body. I can literally remember going down the rows, in between the rows often, seeing really thick toenails and, all that sort of stuff, dust and, but the sound just wrapped around the whole time. That's been my beginning points inside of understanding or learning a little bit about kapahaka and through that mōteatea. It's a world, So what I started to discover or understand was, as a young person, you grow up with the competition values of kapahaka. And as I got older, and part of it is because I have a disability. I have muscular dystrophy. So in that disability, I wasn't as physical as my cousins or my siblings. What I could hear, though, was other things. So my taringa, my whatu sort of would focus in different spaces. And just like those old kuia from Manituke, you start to see nuances of people expressing mōtetia, and you see a whole world behind it. So it's not just the competition world. You see, like windows, you look through that lens of those expressions and you see a whole new world. Well, maybe it's not a new world, it's just another world. And so I think, and this is how I've come to mōtetia, is they're always a portal or they're always a doorway. And the doorway, it doesn't take us to the past, but it uses kind of old kupu, old rangi, and it reveals something of the world of the now. But often we can't see that world because we're so distracted by lights and competition and all of that stuff. So
the glitz and the glam of kapahaka.
The glitz and glam. I call it the whakaata, as an uri of rongo whakaata. We got lots of whakaata going on in our spaces. We need a bit more rongo to be able to listen to what's also going around. What's the other world that's moving around us all the time?
Kia ora, i rā kōrero. So I guess we could say koina te wā, that was like the time of you, being first introduced. And then as we do ka pake ke haere mātou, and how was your experience back home as you started to grow? Did it remain or did you start to morph? Hea e rā neke au?
One of the roles that I played in Waihere as I got older was to compose, and I'm a lover of music, and I'm a lover of Western music and the way in which the Western music moves spirit if you do it properly, and the structures of it. But as a composer of a particular context and a particular space, you have to listen to that space differently. You have to listen to it without Western and musical ears in that way. You have to listen to what are the sounds of the environment, what are they doing, how are they moving, how are they flowing, how are they entering into your taringa, and how are they moving around, how do they move you, and you start to capture on kupu and rangi that describe or emphasize what's going on around you. And that's the beauty. Again, it's like mōtetia is one vehicle and reo is another vehicle and rangi is another vehicle. And those things are all interconnected if you can hear them and see them, but you need to be still enough to do that, I think, and to let things come out. As a composer, I'm trying to think about those things, but I'm also really cognizant that competition and, what our rangatahi wants, the type of rhythms that they want, they're different. And you can either go with it or you can choose to sort of take them in the other space. It's all learning how to bring realization to our rangatahi, ourselves, what the flow of that, the energy that sits around us all the time, right? What's going on with that, and it's not just rhythm that you hear on the radio.
Kia ora.
It's the way in which the pukeko squawks at the back. It's the way in which the dragonflies, in the summertime skim across the water in the wairere, and it's all of those sorts of things that sort of colour. And it's mōtetia that helps you see that because it tells it to you in a different way.
Kia ora. I can tell by just how you're articulating your kupu and that you're very observant in your composition and in your art form and that. So could you share with us, when you are getting ready to compose your waiata, your mōtetia, what's your preparation? What's Taina's preparation for that?
Noho puku. In the most time is to sit and to not let my head get too much in the way, because I'm quite a heady thinker. I think I want to come inside my own whare, come to the pautuarongo of my whare, and I want to sit there. That's where I want to begin. And if you're quiet, often you're hearing more than what you think you're hearing, right? So That's probably the beginning space for me. Everything is interconnected. It's a tricky thing to try and weave in as a tutor of kapahaka, when you're also trying to teach mōtetea. That's another thing, because you don't want to just teach them kupu and you don't want to teach them rangi. You don't even just want to teach them whakamārama. You want to teach them how to sit and hear what's going on around them. And there are many things that take them away from sitting and listening.
Kia ora, tēnā koe. Yes, I must say with today's noise, it is easy to be distracted these days, but something that we can also use as a vessel for us to compose.
It's a great vehicle, actually. Everything around us in the world is all energy. So, while I'm thinking about going online or the noise that sits around politics, everything is wairua, everything is energy. It's the same energy that our tipuna could see and use. It's when I say it's the same, obviously it comes from different modes and mechanisms, but you can still receive them in the same way. You can still use them in the same way. To bring purpose, to bring connection, to reflect, to narrate, all of those things, to reveal, they're all constantly moving around us. So I think when I think about, Waiata Karaua and mōtetea, I am trying to always think about the relevance that they hold with us today. It's not about us performing like our tipuna did. It's about using the form of it to remind us what's constantly around us anyway. So that's quite a big concept to sort of wrap around. Particularly when our kids just want it quick and fast. And with a TikTok move,
You're so right, tēnā koe. And thank you for mentioning that comparison as well, Eho, because I was going to allude to that kōrero there, but you've already hit it on the noggin there, tēnā koe. Do you believe and feel that mōtetea, and especially being from the Tairāwhiti Rongo Whakaata, has enriched your artistry, your art form?
Yeah, heaps. And such big ways in my own personal life and the way in which I view the world. My background, I grew up in Manutuke. I was too old to be in the Kohanga Reo movement. I was too old to be in the Kura kaupapa movement. I was probably a part of the generation that was in the groundswell towards those particular movements. I grew up in Manutuke, went to Manutuke Kura. It was an all-English speaking school. We had very strong relationships with our Pākehā community. And then right next door to where I grew up was our marae, and behind us was our urupā, and my mother was a Sunday school teacher, teaching stories of Jesus Christ. And I'm sitting in this complex environment, being completely stretched and ripped, built around those sort of often competing ideals. So I grew up understanding the deficit nature of being from Poverty Bay, and that's a long history, and it's a well documented history about where that began, and how in the arrival of the element of cook inside of Turanganui Akiwa, we weren't the picture of the natives on the beach as everybody talks about in those history books. We were real people. We know the names of tipuna that were killed on that beach that day. And the consequences of that sort of had carried across 250 years. Poverty narratives, deficit narratives, and yet our mōtetea take us to a world of abundance, and they take us to a world of vitality, and both are true, depending on the pathway that you choose to look at. Yeah. And I'm choosing to look at the vitality narrative, the abundance narrative, and I know that inside of our the way in which we meet, the way in which we tiaki, the way in which we grow, the way in which we live in my 1-bedroom flat with my my 3 children. I haven't got 5 children. My 3 children, and other narratives will say that is poverty-stricken. But there was nothing but richness. There's nothing but richness there. And I know that based on a lot of mōtetea, in particular pōpō, as a kaupapa that I grew up learning about through that one lens, learning about our deficit in the history books, and then learning about our abundance through the cultural storytellings of our people. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Kare kore cannot take away the richness there. And now, what I'm also learning about through mōtetea like pōpō is it tells us how to grow abundance. It's not just about we were abundant and that was a thing of the past. It tells us how to be inside of that abundance. It tells us where to look for it, the timing, where it came from, how it got to be, what we have to actually do to plant it, to grow it, to share it, to listen to the movement of time through the movement of the planets and the stars and the wind and when the pipi wharauro is singing, and all of those particular stories that are captured inside of this one beautiful mōtetea gives us amazing insight as to how to achieve vitality, and that's true today.
Yeah, kia ora tēnā koe. And thank you for mentioning pōpō too, because with every iwi, we have those, those evergreen mōtetea. And we know that these mōtetea are going to last throughout the generations and that. Do you feel our compositions of today have that same essence, have that same mauri, that same mana?
I think yes and no. The yes depends on, to me, who's written it, the degree of their ability to weave the reo in a particular way. I grew up not with the depth of reo that I wish I had. And so I was sort of clutching at little straws or threads to weave together, but somebody who comes from the richness of the reo and they live it and they've lived inside of it, their ability to weave that would be awesome to sort of be able to understand and capture. Unfortunately, as a people, we're all sorts of different types of ability in te reo. Some of us are learned, some of us are still learning, and some of us are just completely natural. And so those differences are quite big. For me, when you learn te reo, and you don't have a lived understanding of it, you're only ever going to get small pockets of understanding. But what I kind of really think about, and I think about this all the time, is it's a little bit like talking about that competition. We're all sorts of degrees of living in the world with experiences of our humanity. And so a lot of our human nature is to be competitive, to be consumptive, to be ego-filled, sometimes to be narcissistic, and all of those things. We want to strive, and our vision is over here, and we want to, puff out ourselves. And those things often, they become our narrative, but they're only limited. Behind us is also all of these other rich languages around connecting, being connected, listening, maurito, letting wairua move us. And often when we're so much in that other world, that stuff doesn't influence, right? That doesn't influence us. This is for everybody. This is not just for Māori. This is for humanity, full stop. Where over here we stop focusing, or we stop drawing from this wider sense of our identity. So if our composers of today are composing with competition in mind, then my answer is no.
Kia ora i rā whakamārama.
If they're composing with growth, with human expression, with connection to taiao, with kaupapa, with wairua, then my answer is yes.
Tēnā koe, tino pai e rā whakautu e hoa, tino pai rawa atu. Now, I also understand that you're an artist who comes from a multidisciplinary background e hoa. Me te pai hoki o tērā, you know, because that takes you into, like you said, kapahaka, theatre, music, you know, e hea kēnei, e rā o ngā ara. Therefore, is mōtetia a benchmark for you to carry into these disciplines that you engage in?
I think, as I said early on, I think mōtetia for me has been used to window in to the benchmark. So I've been able to find and discover how mōtetia has been a tool for me to apply craft in all of those forms. But it's not about performance. I love creating. That's a language of love for me, creating, putting performance up. And mōtetia has been a way for me to lens it, to give it a shape. So, for example, in my identity as rongo whakata, I know that any whakata I do has to first begin with a rongo approach. And in order to get to the rongo approach, I use karakia mōtetia to help me locate myself inside of that rongo. So, while I would say not a benchmark, I would say an absolutely critical tool for me to get to that space.
Tēnā koe, Māori ake. Earlier on, you mentioned pōpō, tētahi waiata rongo nui nei roto i a rongo whakata i a te rāwhitira, ne? Tēnā. Whakamārama mai, yeah, some of us out there, kare te tino mārama. So from Taina Moetara's perspective, hiaha tēnei mōtetia.
Pōpō, to me, is like a Rubik's Cube. It was actually described to me as a Rubik's Cube. And you know, when you get a tamaiti and they've got a Rubik's Cube and they're like trying to solve it, and they're moving it in multiple different ways. Pōpō is like that to me. So I kind of think about it, the whole journey is maybe 12 movements through it. And the first movement, if you like, talks about whāngai te tamaiti, and through oriori, which is the form of pōpō, as a lullaby, as a space. So, you know, a karaua singing to his mokopuna and telling him the story. And the first strategy, or the first part of that story, talks about feeding the tamaiti, and a whale arrives on the shore, strands a mother whale, whāngai that tamaiti with the milk of that mother whale. So that whale has travelled all the way across Tangaroa to be there, and the whale to me represents mātauranga. It's travelled from different spaces and it's eaten different kai, and its gutter's lined with that, and that's kind of all inside of that first verse. So this is the beginning. The korau was talking to the mokopuna and saying to the mokopuna, I'm going to feed you not with milk, I'm going to feed you with this mātauranga that goes from way back and far away from here, right? You know, right back from our beginnings, and it's travelled, and in the travelling in the journey, that's what I'm going to feed you with, and that's the beginning, and then it goes like that through every move of that motetea. It's delightful, it's delectable, it's delicious, all of those things, and it talks about parts of our identity. You know, it opens the tamaiti up to recognise no te ao tū, no te ao hore, you're of the light, you're of the sky, no tangaroa, you're of the sea, no hene tuahuanga, you're of the whenua, you're of the land. It reminds us of all of those connections that we have. Then it kind of pulls it like this, right, and sort of weaves it across space, and it gives you some clues. It talks about physically the arrival of the kumara, which is the key, I guess, the what do you call it, like the cornerstone or the foundational stone of that piece is the arrival of the kumara into our context. But it's not just about the kumara, it's about, again, bringing all of that with you. So the kumara for us at home has become the symbol of vitality and abundance, and it requires some mātauranga in the way in which it's planted, as it was planted by Hine Hakirirangi in her arrival on the kumara, on the Horota waka, and, you know, coming into Te Wherowhero where the Horota lands, and, you know, her movement across the whenua to come to Manawaru to be delighted of heart. All of these pieces inside of that motetea. I mean, you could just go on and on about it. You know, Maui, Wharekino, and Pani Matua, and the growth and the garden, and then it ends it up all the way through this kōrero. It takes it back up to the rangi and talks about timing and peke hawane and rehua and te mātahi o te tau. And right at the end it says te putunga o te hinu, you know, te tiko tiko iere, te ngahuru tiko tiko iere, where abundance will come forth. Amazing, eh?
Amazing. Tino, and this is the Taina Moitara version, e te whānau,
yes,
okay?
This is my version. Yeah, I think Papa Api in the book might have said something a bit differently, but that's how I think about it. It's it has challenges in it. It's not like this is all rainbows and unicorns. It talks about how to navigate the challenges. And we're facing challenges all the time in our contemporary lives.
Kia ora.
You know, so that mātauranga is still completely useful to us as we navigate ourselves around and to grow our abundance.
Kia ora. I just have to sort of reflect at the beginning there how your analogy around the Rubik's Cube of this motetea, you know, that's amazing. You know, straight away, I hanga tetahi pikitia, you know, straight away. So, e mihi ana ki te rao ngā kōrero. Just still with this waiata here, why is it so significant to you, Taina?
Because I'm that kid with the Rubik's Cube. We've always been brought up at home, and this probably our identity as artists is not just me, but it's inside of our whakapapa. You know, we come from people like Te Kōti, Rikirangi Te Tūruki. We come from Rukupo, you know, the ability to go into those unknown spaces and create. Our motetea are built for our young people to live and learn through them, right? And they shouldn't be treated as untouchable things if they are wrapped, if our rangatahi are wrapped around it in a nurturing way. I want to see my children take those motetea and work it out for themselves and apply it, because the world that they live in today is different to the world that I lived in the 80s and the 90s. I should have said 90s, 2000s. But they're very different. The technologies and the issues that they're facing are different to what I know. I want them to be able to still use the mātauranga that's wrapped around that mōtiatia and use it to apply themselves in today.
Kia ora, tēnā koe. And you're so right about that. We are ahakoa. And I think that's where we sort of reflect back onto this mōtiatia, how we were, how I was saying it's evergreen. Ne? Ka pai, your experience and the significance it has for you will definitely have a different impact and significance for your tamariki mokopuna to come. You know, and I guess that's the beauty about these mōtiatia of ours. Ine?
Aye. And they're metaphoric and they're deeply human. So even beyond culture, they're beyond culture. They talk to us about our human experience and they give us a lens to understand our universal connections. And, you know, that's significant in today, when we're hearing, you know, governments talk about te reo as a thing. Why would we be learning te reo only, you know, 15% of the country speak it across the world, whatever? If they don't understand that the te reo and mōtiatia and pōhiri ki runga i ngā marae and tikanga and all of these things, they tell us about it, how we are more than human being.
Kia ora.
And that's a language for the globe.
Kia ora, kia ora. E tikana ka tautoko rawa tia I tērā. Talking about our mōtiatia, and even for yourself, the compositions that you have done, e te hoa, how do you feel your contribution to mōtiatia is going to be preserved and hopefully transformed into something evergreen for our tamariki a mokopuna to come? How do you feel that you're contributing to that preservation of mōtiatia, waiata tawhito, waiata karaua?
I think my contribution to that is to model and to be free to express it in the spaces. You know, there's few spaces where mōtiatia comes alive, mostly on our marae and mostly in kaupapa like that. But and I don't know how to sort of go, oh yeah, we need to do it in more spaces. But I think when we get the opportunity to model it, then model it properly. Do it, live it, be it, think it, walk it, speak it, so that our rangatahi and our tamariki can see how it's expressed. And I go back to those nannies. Like, if I wasn't using my right ears or my right eyes, I would have just seen them doing an old chant. But what I saw them doing was expressing life through the form of mōtiatia. That's what we have to do. We've got to express life through our mōtiatia. That would be mine. It's a work in progress, I would say. That's a practice, you know, because if my life is going down the tubes, sometimes I've got to do some big work just to find alignment in myself so that energy and that mauri flows as I'm doing mōtiatia. It's a practice. It's a thing that we've got to keep touching into all the time. It's not a one-stop shop and then got it done, because life isn't like that. So this is what I think is my contribution.
Beautiful. Tēnā koe kāre kore he nui au kōha kia mātou I tēnei au tūroa o tātou nā reira e mihi ana kia koe. But hei whakatepe I enei kōrero, ko rongo au, I ki mai tētahi manu. You've got a project on the horizon. Kāre te whāki e rā kōrero I tēnei wā. But there is a project on the horizon. Are you using mōtiatia as a vessel of some sort to contribute to this project that you're about to embark on?
Yeah, it's an arts project. I use motieta, specifically popo, in multiple spaces. I use it in my current work context. So, currently I'm a corporate lead for an iwi trust. How does vitality and abundance sit inside the way in which I work in that space, and what some of those tools that I can use to think about to help this particular job get to that space. Inside of that little kōrero around this sort of project, it features in everything. It features in my decision to come and speak today, because it is about putting forward that kōrero as kai for our hunga whakarongo, hunga mātakitaki.
Kia ora.
Because that's what we've been taught, whāngai.
Kia ora katautoko, i roto i wērā kōrero o te whāngai, hei whakatepe, hei whakakōpani nei kōrero. He maha ngā tāngata I wahora e whakaaro tonu ana. We've still got a lot of whānau out there, Māori people out there, deciding whether or not, shall I not get into this ao Māori? Do I learn this mō te aha rānei? Do I join this kaupapa? What would you like to say to that hunga out there? Hei whakatena, hei whakakipa ia rātou.
I would say the world of te ao Māori and this world that we're speaking about is there whether you can see it or not. Take this tool, use it, learn it, because it will give you more access to your world that you're currently in. It's not a choice, it's already there. Just, use it, open it up, connect, learn more about the world that we're walking in.
A tāhua e rā kōrero. Love it how you said, e hara I te mea, this is no choice, kei reira. Ai, e tatari ana.
Yeah, and kei te tika, e tatari ana kia uruwai tātou katoa.
Kia ora. Nā reira, e mihi ana ki a koe taina me nei o nā kōrero au. I still love this analogy of how you've explained that pōpō, he momo, Rubik's Cube tēnei, he rautaki. There's a lot of things going on there. Me tō whakatipuranga ki te rāwhiti, e mihi ana ki a koe.
Tēnā koe, whana.
Kia koutou e mātaki mai nā, anei te tahi reo, e hāpai nei, e tautoko ana I te reo tawhito, tēnā koutou katoa.
Pōpō e tangi ana tama ki te kai mana waiho me tiki ake I te pou a hau kai. Hei ama e te pakake ki utara he wai u mō tama. Ki aho mai e tō tipuna e ue nuku whakarongo ko te kumara no pari nui te rā. Ka hiki mata te tapu ai o Tangaroa, ka whae mata te tapu ai o Tangaroa, Tangaroa. Ka haruru, ka noho uru, ka noho I a ngangana puta mai ki wahora ko te ao tū, ko te ao hore. Ko hine tu aho anga ko Tangaroa. Ko te watu o Pautini e. Kei te kukunetanga mai Hawaii ki ko te āhua ia ko Maui whare kino ka noho I a pani. Ka kawea ki te wae o mona ariki mā o ne hunga mā o ne rere mā te piere mā te matata. Te piatangi wharau ka hoake ki runga rā te pipi wharau roa. Nā whena koe waho e, tuatahi e waho e. Tuarua katopea I reira, ko te whatanui, ko te whataroa, ko te tiha ere nā, ko huru nā pai ake nā, turi whatu nā rā kai ora. Ko waiho anake te tangata I rere noa I te ahirara a rongo maraeroa. Ko te kākaho notu, ko te rangi kaupapa, ko te tātua I riro mai. I a kanoa, I a matua tonga, tēnei te mana waka puritia, tēnei te mana waka tāwhia. Kia hara mai tōna hoko vitu I te ara, ka ki a rua tapu ue nuku ki te tama mea mea. Ka tahuri te huri pūrei ata ka whakakau, tama I a whakarere iho ana te kakau o te hoe. Ko manini tua, ko manini aro, ka tangi te kura, ka tangi wiwini, ka tangi te kura, ka tangi wawana. Ko hākirirangi ka au kei uta te kōwhai, ka ngā ora ka ringiti a te kete, ko manawaru, ko ārai te uru. Ka kite a e te tini e te mano, ko makauri anake I mahu e atu I waho I toka āhuru. Ko te peka I rere mai ki utara, hei kura mō mahaki. Ko manga mō te o ko ueta nguru, ko te ko iwi ko ngora pua waihome, tiki ake I te kumara ia rangi, ko peke hawani ka noho ia re hua. Ko ruhe te rangi ka tau kei raro, te ngahuru tiko tiko I ere, ko poutu te rangi te mātahi o te tau, te putunga o te hinu e tama.
That was Taina Moetara with Pōpō. Thank you, Taina, for your wise words and sharing with us how your life has been enriched by Mōtetea. He reo tawhito, a series produced by Toi Te Ara Puoru, Sounds, Centre for New Zealand Music. All Mōtetea have been provided courtesy of the artist. To find out more about today's episode or more about music of Aotearoa New Zealand, go to sounds.org.nz. That's sounz.org.nz. Ko Crystal Edwards aho. Thanks for watching. Hei konara mai.
Toi Te Ara Puoru, Sounds.